So I've been following Jonathan Haidt's work for a while, and he had a really good episode on the Joe Rogan Experience last year, I believe. Maybe it was in January. Don't quote me on this, but roughly last year. And it's been really important to me as of late because I'm a new father and I do have a daughter. And his research and his work is quite relevant for me. And even before I became a dad, I was looking into this research and on one hand, you can say it doesn't take a rocket scientist to kind of figure this out, but on the other hand, sometimes it takes a sledgehammer to hit you in the face to realize, oh shit, there's something that we have to do. Because it's always in hindsight 2020 that we look in the past and say, well, that was kind of a bad thing to do, or we fucked up. And what I'm talking about is the effects of social media, not the internet, but social media, and primarily since 2010 when Facebook and Instagram, I'll say primarily Facebook, when Facebook started really taking off until we see today. So since 2001 to 2010, suicide rates for males have been up 25%. Since 2001 to 2010, 70% from females. So this is from the CDC fatal injury reports. Jonathan's research has, and I'll dive into the data a little bit, and I'm not a statistician per se, but I just do want to start a conversation about this. But Jonathan's work has been trying to link the fact of social media exposure at a very, very young age is quite detrimental to the psyche and detrimental to the development of an individual. His data primarily is focusing on the fact that social media is way more detrimental to young girls than it is to boys, because he states in his data, boys will gravitate towards porn and video games. Girls, as you'll understand evolutionary psychology and biology, girls gravitate into group thinking. So what are the major reasons when it comes to negative effects of social media for girls? Well, you have bullying, rumor spreading. So remember, boys can duke it out. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a personal fight and grab a beer afterwards. Even when I was young, how many schoolyard scruffles I got into when I was in elementary school, and it was fucking nothing. We just went back to business as usual. And one of my blessings is I never grew up with social media. I was the last generation before social media. Thank God. Things for girls. So we have bullying and rumor spreading, because girls, they don't physically fight, so it's gossiping. We have relationship issues. So girls are always wondering of like the relationship within the tribe, relationship among themselves, and how they are viewed within their in-group. And unrealistic views of other people's lives, because with social media you're looking at all these other fake living, fake lives, unrealistic. And so at a very, very young age, these girls are highly manipulated and they don't have the necessary mental capacity, both physically. Remember, the prefrontal lobe it takes until young adulthood to grow into maturity. But so these young girls are having detrimental effects. And here's another study from Jonathan Haidt, is hospital admissions for non-fatal self-harm. Once again, age 15 to 19, since 2009 until 2015, up 62%. And then from the age of 20 to 24, 17%. Age 10 to 14, 189%. Once again, he states it's not so much the millennials, which I would say I think the last generation I was on the cutting block of just making it to millennial camp. So people who are exposed to social media after a certain age doesn't seem so much of this harm. What he's saying is at a very young age, so girls who are in, when they're hitting the preteens to the teens, that is the worst time possible to have your psyche bombarded 24/7 with fake artificial reality. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's fake artificial reality, and that's what it is at the end. It's fake artificial reality that manipulates on how they should think and how they should behave, which creates a very, very bad cognitive dissonance to how real reality is. And this is why we're seeing a massive increase in issues around the world when it comes to young girls and social media. I just want to pull up this Twitter thread over here where he goes through a bunch of stuff, and there's one thing in specific I want to pull up over here where we talk about with the Gen Zs. So they did a huge survey from 2012. Remember what I said? Facebook was 2010, and the social medias with the 3G network really started propagating after 2012 because it took a while for it to get network effect and mass velocity. So this is a very simple study they did. They asked, do you have a psychological disorder, depression, etc.? Percentage of students indicating yes. So women to men, all Gen Z, so younger demographics. And you can see this chart over here of how much women to men. And you can read his book, Coddling of the American Mind. But what I wanted to make this video about is we should really have an honest conversation of what we should be doing with social media and young girls. Now, it's not realistic to say, hey, stop social media, because at the end of the day, we know human psychology. You can tell your young daughter, oh, well, you can stop social media, but if she goes to public school or her friends have it, she's not going to stop it. And even if you don't give her a phone, her friends have phones, they have tablets or computers. And so we need to start thinking, second order thinking, third order thinking of how we can really create proper in-groups. So having like-minded parents and like-minded family and community around us that actually respects the data and understands. I would say this is common sense, at least to me. Maybe I'm in the minority, but to me, it's common sense that you have at the touch of a fingertip every known dopamine addiction, serotonin addiction possible at a very young age. Of course, that is going to skew and manipulate your psyche and manipulate the reality that you're living in. And we really need to figure out and come together as a community to talk about this. How can we start creating like-minded individuals, like-minded communities? It's almost like the Amish had it right at the beginning. You know, I'm not in favor of them saying no technology. I'm a firm believer in hybridization and having the best of everything, right? There's a time and place for everything, but they have something right where it's like they believe, and not just the Amish, there's other groups as well, but they believe most, not all, they're not 100% anti-technology, but most technologies is detrimental to the psyche, detrimental to living proper as a human, whatever you want to define as a human. And so I want to quickly make this video about, like, we are in serious situations right now. This is a massive, massive problem that's been going on since 2012. And I think it's going to propagate even worse with stuff like augmented reality coming out, Google Glasses, which is augmented reality, and social media becoming more mainstream. I want to say mainstream, social media becoming more interwoven within every facet of society. Like, for example, just with the elections lately, and just with everything that we're doing, and especially with COVID, people are living 24/7 on social media. And I would bet even if we would fast forward 10 years from now, we would even see more data that not just Gen Zs, I know he wasn't focusing really on millennials, but I would say even millennials are affected. In fact, I would say every age group is affected. The less time that we spend on social media, the better. Remember, this is a tool. Social media is innate. It's not a living sentient being, and it's a double-edged sword. So it depends on how you use it. And just like smoking, for the longest time, they said you can smoke in hospitals and doctors were promoting it. We look back and we're like, this is the worst, stupidest thing we ever said. And there's many things that we can look back and realize this was probably the dumbest suggestion of promoting anything that we could ever do. What the fuck we were thinking. And we would look back eventually and say, social media is like the new sugar, or social media is like the new smoking. And hopefully this video can spark and start a conversation around this. Anyways, I wanted to make this video. It's a big concern for me. I'm going to be thinking about what I'm going to do with my daughter. I have some thoughts on it. And leave a comment below this video. I'd like to know your thoughts. And like always, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. And I will see you guys later. Peace out.